Hey, what's going on, guys? So, we're back with another SimRig update, probably the first of many in 2024. If this is your first time here, I'm MS Boy, and I'm good at two things: flight simulators and having MS. So in my last SimRig update, I showed off all my WinWing stuff, my 3D printed dash kits I got from my buddy over at Hornetsimshop on Etsy. Make sure you guys check him out. I'll leave his page linked in the description below. But in keeping with the trend of DIY 3D printed sim stuff, I decided that I was going to show off 3 new additions for you guys, all of which have varying complexity. So firstly and easiest out of the 3 is this guy right here. I was browsing around Cults 3D and found these files for a Canopy open and close switch, and I said to myself, that's way cooler than hitting left Control C. So I paid the $3 or so, downloaded the files, and I got to printing. Now obviously we're going to need some electronics to make this thing work. We need a 3-position toggle switch and a microcontroller of some kind. This was designed around a Seed Studio Arduino, but I'm fairly certain you could use just about any Arduino-based microcontroller like a Teensy. So once you have everything printed, it's just a quick solder job and then writing the code. The code provided by the user treats this as a USB game controller, which you can just bind in DCS like anything else. So up equals open, down equals close. Bing bang boom, done. But what if we wanted to get a little more complex? Brian was browsing around on Reddit and he linked me to this Thingiverse page for an ejection seat handle that's designed to work with the WinWing Orion 2 joystick base, and it's pretty badass. You see, by default, if I need to eject, I either need to hit Control E 3 times or click the handle in the cockpit 3 times, and that's just not nearly cool enough. So of course, firstly, I downloaded the files and I got to printing the components. This one requires some more off-the-shelf parts than the last one, but the bill of materials is on the Thingiverse page. Once I had the printing done, the next step was to install some Heatset threaded inserts. A soldering iron is really the perfect tool for this job. You don't want to crank the heat too high. I found 300 degrees to be a perfect middle ground. So you just press the iron into the top of the inserts and use light pressure until it sinks into the hole. Now these are going to be hot for a little while after, so be careful not to touch them when you're doing the next ones. Next, you want to install the micro switch and then feed the wires through the channel. So with the micro switch out of the way, it's time to focus on the Arduino. Now this is an Arduino Nano, and as the name implies, it's pretty small. But we can make life a little bit easier for ourselves if we use what's called a breakout board, and that's what this guy is right here. So basically we attach the Arduino to this breakout board, and then we have screw terminals for all the wires rather than hard soldering them to the board itself. That way in the future, if you have to change a wire, you don't have to desolder it, you just unscrew it from that terminal. If the camera could focus here, that would be awesome, but this is soldering the pins to the Arduino. And that's what it looks like all done. Once the Arduino is ready to go, we just need to wire everything up. So just landing these wires into the screw terminals and install it into the base, and we're pretty much good to go. And then this is what the final assembly looks like once it's all installed on the chair. I did have to modify the chair a little bit to make this thing fit, and it involved cutting down the center post with an angle grinder. So being able to download and 3D print things to add to your SimRig is definitely a great way to enhance the experience. But what if we want a panel or something that isn't available for download, or no one's taken the time to model it? So the panel I wanted in particular was the sensor panel out of the F-18C. Since I couldn't find any files to download, I decided to use this as an opportunity to learn some Fusion 360. This is where we get even more complex. Our first order of business is getting a screenshot of the panel that we can use in Fusion as a canvas to build off of. Once we're in Fusion, we just add the canvas to one of the axes. Now the problem with this is we don't know how accurate the scale is, but it turns out Fusion has this handy feature for calibrating the canvas. Since I know for certain that these toggle switches are 12 millimeters in diameter, we can use that dimension to calibrate the canvas to the appropriate scale. After that's done, I just started a new sketch and began tracing out the profile. Then it's just a matter of extruding a few millimeters and adding some 12 millimeter holes for the switches and knobs. With the holes complete, I added a fillet on the sharp corners to make the panel look more like the real deal, and of course, the text inlays. This is the final design that I settled on here in the bamboo slicer. Once I had the thing printed, it was time to start installing components and wiring. First, I tried using the screw terminals on these switches, but I wasn't getting the best connections, so I did end up soldering them eventually. And with everything wired up, it was time to write the code. Now, there are some very good and very thorough tutorials on this that I will leave linked in the description below, but with DCS BIOS and board, it really can be as simple as copy and pasting the code. So I pasted the snippets I needed over from Bort and then assigned their respective pins on the Arduino, and it was off to the races. Since I was using an 8-position rotary switch, I ended up using an Arduino Mega for this to give me some extra digital pins to work with. So aside from needing to print another knob for the radar switch and printing a box to hold all of the wires and the Arduino Mega, this thing is good to go and it works. I have to say, this sensor panel project was the first time I ever fully designed something in Fusion 360, and I loved every minute of it. Now, sure, I did run into some snags here and there, and went through probably 10 or 15 prototypes, but having a fast printer like the Bamboo Labs P1S really allows you to iterate and improve on your designs so much faster than if you did it with like an Ender 3 or similar printer. I'm sure you can also see that doing things like this for your sim rig can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. You could start off easy with something like the Canopy Switch, or you could go down the DCS BIOS and Fusion rabbit hole like I did. Well, hey guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below if you want to see more content like this as well. And don't forget to subscribe. And huge thanks to everybody that's subscribed recently and showed up for the 1,000 subscriber live stream. I'll definitely do more of those in the future. And hey, we'll catch you guys in the next one.